Reverend Jackson
Mm-hmm.
passed, you had a personal relationship with him because he really did step in as a national leader, boots on the ground, to help this city through the water crisis. Talk about your what that meant to you, what it meant to the city.
You know, he absolutely did that. That's exactly what he did. And you know, it was funny because I remember when I met him, I got a call saying that he wanted to come and meet with me. And I said, Reverend Jackson? Because I didn't know him. You know, I'd been around, but I'd never had the opportunity to meet him. And so he came and he said, this needs some national attention. He said, and I'm here to help. And it was funny because I didn't have to call him. And every time he came, sometimes he just showed up. You know, he'd call and make sure I was in town, and he'd just show up. But he was always concerned about Flint. He was always helping Flint. One of the things that I really appreciated was he wanted to make sure I was in front of certain audiences so we could talk about what was going on in Flint and what the needs of the residents were and still are. And you know, I don't know if people know this, but when we talk about the opioid money that has come into Flint, almost, you know, $9 million, that's because of Reverend Jackson. That's how we got that opioid money. He called me, and he was hosting an economic development event in New York, and he paid for me to come. He said, I have someone that you need to meet, and it was attorney C.K. Hoffler. And he set that meeting up, and she talked about Flint deserves to get this opioid money because of what is going on there. And that was how we were able to get that, was because of Reverend Jackson, and I don't think a lot of people know that. But he was a fighter for us, and he showed up all the time because he cared.
His voice obviously carried a lot more weight than, say, the average Flintstone, if you will.
Right.
How significant was that in getting as far as we've gotten? Because we know we still have a long way to go with this crisis, but how significant was his involvement in the fight?
I think it was very significant because when you look at him as a civil rights fighter, and water is a basic human right, it was a fight that he wanted to get in and get down and dirty with. And he, because of him getting involved, it brought attention from other people as well. And then it made other people, because, you know, he brought Judge Mathis. You know, he brought Judge Mathis, and Judge Mathis became outspoken with what was going on in the city of Flint. So he attracted other people of national prominence to get involved and speak up about what was going on in Flint. And never had to ask him once. You know, didn't have to ask him to do it. He came. You know, it was just like, this is important, because if it's happening in Flint, this can happen somewhere else. And so we need to, you know, sound the alarm about this and let it be known how important this is.
We know he's been in poor health for several years.
Yeah.
But as they say, you're never really ready for news like
No.
what developed overnight. What went through your mind and in your heart when you got the word that he had passed overnight?
Well, you again said it. You're not ready. And while it wasn't a surprise, because, you know, he had been sick for some time, it was just like, oh, you know, it wasn't what you wanted to hear. You didn't want to hear it. And it's funny because I reached out to him probably maybe 3 months ago. And I didn't expect him to answer the phone because his health was, you know, it was before he went to the hospital, and he answered the phone. And I told him, I said, you don't even need to talk. I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you and that I love you. And, you know, I was telling somebody earlier, one of the things he said to me was, he grabbed my hand one time, and this was when he had come to Flint, and he said, in all of this work, never forget the people. He said, never forget the people. And I just took that to heart. And, you know, I'm sad. I mean, it's hard because we did spend so much time together, and he played such an important role when I was in office and trying to help Flint. And, you know, he's going to be missed by us.
I spoke with a historian from Michigan State this morning, and she said one of the things she admired about him is that he was, you know, a civil rights era leader who didn't seem to mind having to pass the baton to the next generation.
Yeah.
Do you feel, in a sense, you know, that he's sort of passed the baton to you in bringing you in?
Because he did. You know, he did. And he did bring me in. And he brought me in and exposed me to so many things and to so many people. And like I said, he always made sure, Karen, you need to be here. You know, you need to be at this event. And it was funny because they always made sure they covered the expenses for me to do those things and to be in those places. But he was right, because Flint, what was going on and is going on was such a tragedy, that it was important to be in those places. It was important to have those connections and to talk to people that had access to resources that were going to be able to help us. And he always made sure, it was never, oh, we're just going to have some fun. If you have fun, you're going to have some business first, that's for sure. But he wanted to make sure I was in those rooms on behalf of the people here. He loved Flint. He loved Flint.